To be joined by a true friend of free market reforms and a true friend of this show, Governor Scott Walker. He's got a new book, Unintimidated, a governor's story and a nation's challenge. Governor, as always, sir, welcome. Thank you for coming back on the show.
Thank you, Larry. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the great career you've had. We're pleased to be on your show to honor your great tribute to a great program, and we're glad you're going to be sticking around as a contributor. We'll be watching on CNBC as well.
All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that very much. I want to get to your fiscal plan in Wisconsin, but first I want to ask you about the delay. Once again, the president has broken a promise, and what was supposed to be a March 31st deadline for payment has now been extended. But, Governor, we don't even know how extended it's going to be because there are so many loopholes in this thing, and you have to use the honor system to get it. It's really just like the renewal of the cancellations with loopholes and hardships. I mean, my first question is the individual mandate just dead, completely dead?
Well, at least it is through this next election cycle. And I think we've seen all along that this is much more about politics than about good public policy, because his friends in the United States Senate have a real chance of losing the majority because of Obamacare. I think they're trying to push as much of it off into the future. But the real problem I see here in Wisconsin is people just want us to fix this problem. They want us to fix the mess that Washington has created. And the reality is, for employers, day in and day out as I travel the state, and I'm sure it's the same across the country, what employers are particularly concerned about is the uncertainty. They don't know what is next. They don't know what the rules are. They don't know what's going to happen next. And that's caused them not to create as many jobs and opportunities as we'd like to see them create, not only in my state, but across the country.
All right. Wisconsin is part of this now. You're a state-run exchange, but you are part of the Obamacare system. I want to ask you, I want to take you up on your offer. This thing's been postponed, it's been delayed. I mean, I called for a 3-year moratorium several weeks ago. Little did I know the president would implement it. I want to ask you what Republicans need to do to use your word, to fix this. What is the Republican fix? What's your fix?
Yeah, well, just to be clear, we did not do a state exchange. We deferred to the federal government because we thought it would be state name only. But I think the larger context, the concern is the uncertainty it provides to employers. What I would do is instead put in place a patient-centered plan that's not dependent on the federal nor the state government to run things. Instead, puts the patient back in charge. Cut through the bureaucracy, cut through the red tape. Let patients be the ones, give the tax incentives that previously were just provided for employer-provided health care plans. Instead, provide it whether you buy it yourself, whether you buy it through your employer, whether you use it for a health savings account. Let people have skin in the game, and when they do, they're going to make better purchasing decisions about health care than anyone in the federal or the state government's doing today.
Can we, look, I love the tax piece right there. That's a really important reform. Can we just get rid of all the mandates? Whatever consumers want, insurance companies will supply. Why should we be dictating mandates and not have complete freedom of choice?
Let it be wide open. Right now, what's one of the few areas where the market decides is corrective eye surgery. Years ago, it used to be available only to the super wealthy. Today, it's affordable for just about any American who wants to save up for it. That's an elective procedure. Just like most health care decisions, they're elective. If I want to make a decision about waiting a day or two and go to a clinic instead of a hospital, if that's medically advisable, working with my doctor to do so, I'm going to make that decision for me and my family because it's affordable and yet it provides me great quality health care. Those are the kind of decisions Americans are up to. But right now, we don't have a system that allows them to do it. And going back to the old system isn't the answer anyway. You need to go forward with a system that goes beyond the bureaucracy in insurance companies, beyond the bureaucracy in the federal and state governments. Instead, empower individual patients to be making decisions about their health care.
All right, great stuff. Let me go back to Wisconsin. You got yourself a balanced budget or a surplus. I believe you've cut taxes to the tune of $2 billion. You just completed another $500 million tax cut. How's the state's economic growth? How's the unemployment doing? And what else you got in mind out there?
Well, you're right. This is the third time in less than a year we've cut taxes. In total, it's over $2 billion of tax relief for the hardworking taxpayers of our state. More money in the hands of consumers and employers. That's helped us last year create the largest private sector, the best private sector job growth we've had since the 1990s. Our unemployment rate is down by some 3%. We've seen more people working, more employers hiring. And that deficit that we had 3 years ago, $3.6 billion, as you mentioned, is now nearly $1 billion in surplus. And instead of using it, hoarding it in our state capital, we're putting it back in the hands of the people who earned it, our hardworking taxpayers, because we think it'll allow them to recoup that and to spend that to create more economic vitality, to have a true stimulus effect by employing more people and purchasing more products, and that'll help us grow future budget surpluses next year and beyond.
Governor, let me ask you, though, I've been reading about this, and at least reported by Ira Stoll, the New York Sun. You didn't cut the top tax rate. You only cut the bottom tax rate. The top tax rate in Wisconsin is still 7.75%. I believe the bracket is about $300,000 or $325,000. That's kind of a New York-style tax rate, and you only cut the bottom rate, which was around $14,000 or $15,000, from 4.4 to 4. Now, you get a bigger bang, sir. You get a better incentive if you cut those top rates and all the rates in between. Why didn't you go there?
No, I agree with that. But remember, this is the third time in less than a year we've cut taxes. We cut property taxes last fall. We cut property and income taxes with this plan. But in my budget last July, we cut all income tax rates. In fact, for people paying income taxes here in the state of Wisconsin right now, going into April 15th, every income tax bracket went down. The number of brackets were reduced. And so we cut taxes on everyone in the state of Wisconsin who owes income taxes for precisely that reason. Why we added another about $100 million in income tax relief on top of the property tax relief was because we wanted to make sure that as we saw this recovery, as we saw the recovery that led to our surplus, we didn't leave anyone behind. My goal going forward is to get closer to a flat tax, to reduce the income tax yet again for everyone who pays income taxes in our state, to be more aggressive in that regard, as well as continue to cut the rates on property in our state, which right now for a property tax player with our plan, they'll actually see an outright reduction this December of over $100. That means property taxes in December of 2014 will literally be lower than they were in December of 2010, and that's a goal I want to continue on for the next 4 years.
All right. Well, I hope you keep in mind that the power of the incentive in that top rate is really huge, and people are they're not going to go to Wisconsin. They're going to go to Florida, or they're going to go to Texas. We had Governor Rick Perry on last night. I think you know that. I'm just giving you some friendly supply-side advice, which is free, so you can do with it as you will. Last one, Governor. You often, and you stress this a lot, you regard yourself as a reformer, and you want to limit government, and you showed people how to limit the power of the unions and collective bargaining and so forth. If you run for president, as many people believe you will and should, how would you tackle that reform agenda in Washington?
Well, I think what we've shown in Wisconsin is that it's not about austerity, it's about reform. And what I mean by that is if we just come in our state and cut things across the board, that means you cut your priorities as much as you cut things that maybe aren't quite as important. We rein in collective bargaining. We put more power back in the hands of the taxpayers at the state and the local level. I think nationally we need that same sort of reform no matter who's running for president. I'd slash the marginal tax rates for everyone across the board, go to a simpler, more flat tax, bring dollars back to America, repatriate those dollars, put them back into the American economy, put more money back in the hands of consumers, really fix and replace Obamacare with something that is predictable and patient-centered, and then put more of the government back in the hands of the people at the state and at the local level in education, transportation, infrastructure, health care. All those things are better suited if those decisions are made by state and local officials, people closer to the American taxpayer. Those are the sorts of things I think any reformer should be talking about going forward.
All right. We'll leave it there. Sounds pretty darn good. Many thanks, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker. All the best, sir.